From Tech Jacket exterminating Viltrumites to the presentation of the Regent, the season trailer comes full of changes to the original story, but my favorite by far remains Debbie.
Take a night off.
The Invincible from the comic is practically an orphan. After the fight against Conquest, the mother only appears in the hospital to yell at her dying son that nobody needs him, that he must stop being a hero, to then leave with sugar by the hand as if she were a crazy teenager. Instead, the trailer starts with something more human, the genuine concern of a mother for the physical and emotional well-being of her offspring. Debbie finds Mark leaving in the middle of the night. The look of the mother says it all. She knows her son is not well. Worried, she asks him to rest that night. Mark wants to do it, but cannot. The boy carries the guilt of each corpse and understands that his duty is to prevent more tragedies. And that is another very important change regarding the comic. During the original work, Mark jumps from adventure to adventure as if nothing could affect him, but the series always strives to reach the next emotional plane. That's why they show us images of the city's destruction, where millions lost their lives. The climate is so depressing that workers operate at great heights without harness or safety measures, as if life no longer had value. But the hardest are the hundreds of children whose bodies now rest under the rubble. We see a small tribute to one of them in the place where Mark started his fight with Conquest. This sequence is totally original to the series. It's going to be similar to the second season, when Invincible walks through the city after the destruction his father caused, with the difference that now the damages are immense and Mark's pain is proportional. After this, Invincible repeats he'll do whatever to prevent it from happening again. Here, we are in the Pentagon, 3 Doritos after Invincible ends the life of astronaut Rust Livingston. In the comics, this conversation is a battle of egos, where the director of the agency reproaches the hypocrisy of Invincible regarding crucifying the criminals who aren't his relatives. Mark leaves the facilities without having any kind of agreement. The trailer changes the tone of this encounter. Invincible communicates his intention to end in cold blood the villains he encounters, and he's responded that this isn't what you are. Words that reflect a genuine concern for the trauma the young man is going through, giving way to a nightmare that's completely original to the series. In it, we see Mark fight with blood falling from his nose, an element we saw after receiving Powerplex's discharges, but then they show him in the same condition, beating his opponent to death. Perhaps, most likely, most possible, is that it's a nightmare where he relives his fight with the crazy Conquest, which will make their encounter even more traumatic. Literally, poor Mark has had nightmares about this. The panel where she fails using her powers is also original to the series. In the comics, we never saw it in that scenario, and the girl only mentions that after being destroyed by Conquest, they haven't worked the same as before. However, the real reason is her pregnancy. The powers of Eve work at an anatomical level, and the fact that her body is creating a life causes a very strange short circuit. But in the comics, Adam doesn't dare confess her pregnancy. That's why I mentioned the tears in her eyes, accompanied by Mark's words, could be a synonym of change. If Mark finds out he's going to be a father, his perspective changes completely. Just like in the comics, the Guardians combat the Sequids through their bracelets, and we also see behind the magnetic field with which the zone was cordoned off. The trailer tries to trick us with a transition to the fight against the Flaxans. This frame powerfully caught my attention. In the comics, the 4th Flaxan invasion is a huge attack. The interstellar conquerors bring all kinds of weaponry, and here they make it look as if it were a rather small invasion, which makes me think that perhaps instead of making a single battle like in the comic, they'll use the same strategy from the first season, repeated invasions with threat scales increasingly more challenging. In the trailer, we also see the first appearance of Dinosaurus. His design seems impressive to me. During this frame, we see Mark no longer wears robotic implants, which means these have already been ripped out by the progressive dinosaur. He's making his presentation and is just seconds from having his life restart when his body crashes against the wall seen in the background. The Viltrumite encourages the dinosaur to execute his best attack, and right at that moment, the trailer goes back to the start of the confrontation, when Mark still has the implants and is measuring if the creature can withstand one of his punches. Here, we have no news. The presentation of dinosaurs is going to be a copy of the original story. After this, it adds a pretty cool postcard of Universa, where she's draining the energy from the power plant. This woman is the empress of a galaxy far, far away who comes to drain all Earth's energy to save her civilization. In the comics, this plot barely had continuation, so it will be interesting to know if they continue with the same course. Just like in the comics, Adam and Mark are in charge of neutralizing her, where the trailer adds some original frames from the series. The fight is cut short in the comics. It's good to see they'll invest in the confrontation, and maybe we'll find a pleasant surprise. From here comes the good stuff. The trailer uses the first 40 seconds to present the threats that threaten Earth, but the fourth season is about the war. Alan and Nolan arrive to recruit Invincible from a notable distance. The agents are drawn as shadows with interests contrary to Mark's, very different from the comics where the panel is close and cheerful. After this is shown the Imperial Palace, a structure that in the comics is only seen when the planet explodes. It continues with 12 Viltrumites who seem to be inside the palace itself, something also not seen in the comics. In the comics, we only see the Viltrumites with the highest rank addressing their regent and always from a mission position. And another big change is the Viltrumite woman about to take planet Thragg. She's shown in front of a dozen Imperial cruisers, but her attack is interrupted when from the other side of the orbit of the star arrive the forces of the Coalition, which is the official start of the Viltrumite War. Very different from how it happens in the comics. There, after Conquest's attack, the advisors of Thetis demand a response, and their quantum calculations define that the best point to attack is the post of Dridal, whose strategic military value is invaluable. But the mentals didn't calculate that in the place is found one of Thragg's most trusted agents. The weapons that were supposed to hurt him don't do the slightest damage, and everything results in a disaster. Maybe showing the Viltrumite woman in front of the ships has the same intention, and at the start of the war it's a complete ruin, because even with the Empire in decline, a miracle is needed to defeat the Viltrumites. It's no coincidence the trailer shows a Unipon dying in the streets of Telescria. This also isn't seen in the comic, where all we find is a panel of the city being bombarded by the Empire ships, where we also don't see an ion cannon. Another curious change is tech jackets. The guy has gone from being doubt during the season to reselling all his comic compendium. It seems the negotiations have given him the place he deserves. During the trailer, he has up to 6 scenes. We also see him participating in the war. The Geldarian channels a powerful attack against what appears to be the ring of Thragg's bodies. However, Tech Jacket is not attacking the planet, but rather a Viltrumite who rams him from this direction. But curiously, in the entire Viltrumite War, we don't see Tech Jacket finish a single Viltrumite, so the series must repair that error. So during the war, he'll have a very important improvement curve.
Mark throws a threatening look at Thaddeus's speech. In the comics, it's until the trip to Viltrum that the young man has the opportunity to demonstrate his disagreement with the plans. He insists on going home. The plan is authentic suicide. In the series, Thaddeus's message is given outdoors. In the comics, he does it from his reconstructed bunker. Another change is the trailer shows us the Coalition ships shooting down an Imperial cruiser over a planet that appears to be Glacia Prime, an offensive that's mentioned by Thaddeus but never shown. From there, we return to the past, where we can see Oliver's new image. The boy is shown as a 13-year-old adolescent. His purple color has almost disappeared, as he has facial features different from what we see in the comic. In the comics, the Ragnar planet defrosts at the same time as the beasts. Curiously, the series repairs that detail and makes the planet remain covered in ice. Here, we see Alan is cut in his torso, something that doesn't happen in the original story. Also impressive is the size of the Ragnars. These leave very small the Unipan, who curiously is the most corpulent of the entire Viltrumite War. That's why it's no coincidence in the following frames are shown the quartered bodies of the Viltrumites. In the comics, we never saw Ragnars fight on planets with atmospheres similar to Earth. We see parts of up to 4 agents cut without any defined pattern, evidence of how lethal these creatures are. The fist with which Mark pays for Russ Livingston's life is quite similar to what's seen in the comic, but the dorsal shot makes it even more uncomfortable to see. While another of the big changes is the interaction between Nolan and Debbie. I suspect this frame belongs to the season's final moments, after the war has ended. In the comics, this novel is a disaster. Debbie throws all her new boyfriend's stuff to the street for no reason. After screaming and crying without any sense, she hugs Nolan, and the cynic promises her things will never be the same again because he'll never lie to her again. The cynic Thaddeus keeps talking about sacrifices and evils of the past when his responsibility was the cause of this whole disaster. All of Great Thaddeus's narration during the trailer is completely original. After the words, we move to actions. It shows us the arrival of the assault against Viltrum, where just like in the comics, they draw the ring that surrounds the planet. These are all who lost their lives to the Scourge virus. According to the Empire's mathematics, its population approached 50,000, while they tell us Viltrum is 25% larger than Earth. So one of the great inconsistencies of the comics is that 50,000 bodies form a visible ring around the planet. To achieve that, we need at least a few tens of millions. This perspective the trailer gives us doesn't help much. On the other hand, that Mr. Seismic's girlfriend appears at this stage of the series is quite a novelty. Dr. Seismic returns until issue 106, while she appears in 107. That would be approximately season 6 to premiere in 2032, but here she seems to be fighting a war against underworld entities, a plot that's completely original to the series. In the charge against Viltrum, we see Nolan, Thaddeus, and Mark. In the comics, they're the same, but these are accompanied by Space Racer's shot. However, the trailer shows us a blue aura that seems to come from Tech Jacket's weapons. In this frame, we see Nolan fighting against Regent Thragg inside Viltrum's ring. Nolan still wears his suit, and the planet remains to the left. In the comics, the Regent only has a brief confrontation with Mark, so with this image, they confirm the assault on Viltrum will have changes in its development. Conquest with Mark, the trailer shows us the clash of these two forces against the planet's surface. Invincible is hurt the same way, and there's no intention to change the confrontation's development. They say what works doesn't change. Instead, they've used all creativity to expand the war's events, especially Battle Beast, an unknown Viltrumite woman leading two events not seen in the comics. On the other hand, the worms from the insect planet seem to live in giant caves, very different from the comics where they roam outdoors. Just like in the comics, the charge against Thragg's Imperial cruiser is led by the brother duo. Well, if we look carefully, two very close bodies are observed. Also, in the entire trailer, we don't see the horrible blue patch of the Coalition on Mark's shoulder, which is a victory for freedom. In the comics, Argal's skull is found inside Thragg's Imperial cruiser, while in the series, I wonder if there'll be some special throne in the palace. In the comics, the Regent Thragg's location is always in his cruiser, which is orbiting some kind of sun. After his defeat, Conquest somehow, unexplained, manages to get there, where the veteran receives the order to end the lives of all traitors. The moment is an exact copy with the images we see at the end of the trailer.
Leave no one alive.
Did you catch any details we overlooked? What are you most excited to see in Season 4? Do you agree with the changes they're making to the comic storyline? We want to hear all your theories and opinions. Don't forget to smash that like button, it really helps us out. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future Invincible content, because trust me, we've got plenty more coming your way.